Okay, something really weird is happening. I think the actual streaming is dead. Kind of died on me. Huh. Well, the streaming is dying. Well, it's okay. We're just going to keep on. We're gonna keep on modeling. So again, like I said, it's just process of moving things around. To our liking. And as long as the things aren't poking out, poking through, shape is what you want, then you're fine. Then you're fine. Let's see. Yeah. I'm actually literally checking whether my stream is working. I hope. Yep, you can hear it as a delay. Anyway, so like I said, start with a cube, add a subsurface modifier to it, and then extruding the two sides out from the top and from the front. Delete the end face and move the vertices that you have, and you get the basic cast. That's the cast part. Next, you would want to make the padding. You'd like to get the padding in. So this is what we are going to do for the padding. Same thing. We're going to extrude up top. Move it up a little bit, tiny bit. Scale it down. Scale it down. And move it so that it looks kind of nice. Now, at this point in time, a lot of the times I will move other vertices, the cost part, so that it won't cut into our model too much. Same thing with the padding. I will move it around a little more, just so that the first part of the padding won't cut into the actual model, the girl model. Sorry, wrong button. Yeah, keep pressing the wrong button. Okay, grab that. Set it to Y. Okay, that's the first bit of the padding, and then final bit. Extrude again. Scale. This time, don't worry about it cutting into the model. We won't be seeing those. Pull it down. This is where you get the contour. Okay, now same thing. See, this side is a little thin padding. We can always move these up a little bit and inward a little bit. To get it a little more rounded. And there. That's the padding. Same thing with the front. Let's go ahead. Select around it. That's alternate. Even in vertex mode, you should be able to select it around like this. Again, same thing, extrude. And extrude it outwards. Shrink it down using size S. And grabbing it a little more to the side. Same thing with the poke through. We'll do that in just a moment. Extrude again, scale it down, and then move that back in. Scale it even more. There, that's the padding. Now we'll just grab a hold of what we have, pull it back out. Same thing with the cast. Might make it thicker, a little thicker here. And let's see, anything else poking through? Well, might do well with this part, pulling it out a little bit. That would be nicer if we can pull it out a little bit. So same thing, grab a hold, what we want, grabbing it back out, grabbing it down, voila. Okay, the padding should be a little thicker inside. So grab a hold of these, pull it up. Pull it out a little bit. And there. That's it. So if we come out, we take a look at it, and there we go. That's the cast. Now, how am I going to texture it in? Now, I usually don't texture the model in here because I'm going to be using it in DAZ anyway. Now I'm going to rotate this a little bit, okay? Again, just to make it look a little more natural so that it's not flat, but it's kind of, well, it's flat against the model, but not flat against the y-axis. We'll grab it down a little bit. I'm going to use the move to this time. I'm a little lazy. Grabbed it down. Okay, looks cool. Might move that back a little bit. Move that back a little bit, tiny bit. Tiny bit. You can check and see. Yep, looks cool. Looks cool. Okay, so next step. The part where a lot of people dread. I don't like it either. That's the UV unwrapping. Now, how should I say it? First, go back to your object mode. We're going to get a duplicate. Shift D, get a duplicate, and then hide the original one. Now, Blender is really nice in that it's non-destructive. A lot of the modifiers that you add, you can actually change it on the fly if you don't just apply it. But when it comes to UV unwrapping, I usually apply it first, then do the UV unwrap because I know I want to know exactly where I'm actually putting the cut exactly, and sometimes it might be in the middle of the subdivision. And we'll go to Blender, UV editing. Yep, you'll get this window. Don't worry, we're going to place our cuts. So how are we going to cut it? Basically, we're going to add some lines to the casts of where we're going to cut it. Using control will actually help you sometimes because it will try to join the two clicks that you have with the shortest possible distance. So we can cut here on top, and then we will cut around down here. Now, the reason why I cut out the heel is that if you take a look at the cast, a lot of the times the heel part, the direction for the for where the fiber bandage or the plaster bandage go, the orientation is a little different from the thigh, not the thigh, the shin and the ball of the foot, not the ball of the foot, the actual foot. So I usually cut this part out. in the line editing. So basically number 2, if you press 2 on your keyboard, select those lines and you can see mark seams. We'll mark the seam here. Next, we're going to cut out the padding part. So again, on top, very easy to spot actually. It's where the contour lines kind of get close. This time I use alternate and then click because it's a loop cut. We have a loop up here. Mark the seam. Bottom here, same thing. You can see where the cast actually ends and where the padding actually starts. Loop cut it right here. Need one more cut. We need one more cut. Okay, sometimes I do it on the side, sometimes I do it right in the middle. This time I think I'm going to do it in the side, right here. Let's take away the model. And we're going to cut it up right here. Now I'm not gonna use a loop cut for this because I don't want to cut into the heel. So yeah, I'm not very good with working with such a small monitor. There. Mark the seams, so that's gonna cut open. Same thing on top. But on the top, usually cut behind the Achilles heels. Say right here. And all the way in, and we mark the seam. So there, we cut out the casts. Now let's assign them. We're going to assign them to different groups so that it will help us wrap it later on. We go to this little world type icon here. That's the material. We'll be using 3 materials. One of them is the cast. The next one would be a padding. And then we have a cast heel. The reason behind it is if we put the heel part and the actual cast into one mesh, you cannot adjust back in DAZ. You cannot adjust how they are, namely how many tiles you're going to put in for the cast material. So that makes it really hard to texture later on, and it will look really weird. It could make it really weird. Now we're going to assign its faces, different faces to the pots. So let's go to number 3, selecting the face. Click on one, Control L, link it, meaning anything that comes into contact with this, other than anything that is already marked as a seam, will be selected. It will only work in the face selection mode. Now you would see that the UV cutout is really weird. That's because we haven't calculated it yet. Go to UV unwrap. You'll see that's where the cast comes out, how the cast come out. Now, we don't want that either. We want to make sure that it's like a square grid, so that when it's wrapped onto the model, it looks more like a casting tape. So what are we going to do? Well, we'll find any 2 spots. Okay, that's horizontal to each other. Select it. Go to Scale, Y, 0. You can see that the 2 dots kind of shifted a little bit so that it's completely horizontal. Do the same thing with the bottom 2. Scale Y, 0. Now these 2 lines will be parallel. And then do the other side. But this time we want it to be vertical, completely vertical. So scale X, 0. Do it on the other 2 lines, 2 dots. Scale X, 0. So this square here that we just did, we kind of just moved the square right here. This square will be completely, how should I say it? It will be perfectly horizontal and perfectly perpendicular. Now, next, we want other squares to look kind of like this. So we right click and have follow active quads. There, everything kind of lines up perfectly. And we will select everything and move it so that it will fill our texture. There, that's our main cast. Next, we'll go and do the heel part. Same thing. Most likely this one is good. Well, not really. So let's do that again. Dot dot scale y0. Dot dot scale y0. Dot dot scale x0. Dot dot scale x0. Follow active quad. There. Looks nicer. Looks a little nicer. Right, so we have this square-like thing. Really weird. Whoop, that might be better. The other one would be a little weird. Okay, never mind. This part. The heel is a little weird. How should I say it? Because most of the time, the cast will be wrapped this way. Right, kind of like a U shape right there. So we want the actual fiber to go, so we kind of want the fiber to go like straight like that. So I will actually, on this side, instead of using the active quad, I will rotate it so that it's mostly on the side like this. Mostly doesn't really matter here. And then scale it so that it will fit inside the texture. Just place it somewhere. I'm not worried about the scale here because we've cut out the heel piece on its own, so we can actually control how the mesh is going, how the texture is going to wrap, and how many tiles we're going to fit in there. So not to worry about, not worrying too much about it. So for the cast heel, we've selected everything. We'll actually assign it to the cast heel. So cast heel assign. So next time when we select it, only the cast heel will be selected. Now, same thing with the padding. This time, link the padding. One at the bottom. Oops. One at the top. And there. Same thing. UV unwrap. We'll assign it to the padding first before I forget. Now, this part is a little weird. We don't want the texture to go into this thing in a semicircle manner, because we have patterns that have, well, if you kind of look closely at the stock net of the padding, usually it's a little woven material, some kind of a woven material. They have an orientation of going in and out in a certain direction. So that's why we have to actually turn these back into different squares. Those squares first. So again, same thing. Scale X0, we'll just pick one. Any one would do fine. And we'll actually work on the active quad there. So we have a perfect little square. Follow active quad. Okay, now we remember that this side is the bended part. So this is the inside of the cast. So that's the part where it goes in. The outside part is the part that comes out. So depending on where you want the orientation of the material to be, we'll actually rotate it 90 degrees. It all depends on your actual thingy, the material that you have. You have to just create that later. Now, same thing. This should be the bottom part of the heel. Don't ask me how I know. We're gonna do the same thing. Again, we're going to have it follow an active quad. We're going to turn it. We're going to rotate it so that this side is outside, this side is inside. Okay. Now, occasionally I'll scale it up a little bit more so that they kind of match. Two kind of match. Oh, a little too wide. So it's a little too tall. So let's scale it wider here. Shrunk it down a little bit so that they kind of line up and look the same. And then we'll assign that. Let's go back to the cast part and select the casts. Yep, we have that. Select the cast. Now, for this part, I will try and rotate it 180 degrees actually. That's because if we want to sign the cast and everything, we actually have to know the orientation of the cast. And I am also going to save this. Export UV layout. Put it back to the live stream part. Okay, this part. I'll just name it for signature cast. Yeah, that's a bounding box so that we know where to put our signature if we want to sign the cast or put any other patterns on the cast, so that we know. I usually do 2K resolution. Yeah, again, anything bigger, texting on my computer sucks, so well, not really sucks, but not as good. Okay, so going back to layout mode. Voila. Should be our cast with our girl, and it should fit perfectly. Final step before we move back to DAS. We are going to check and make sure that the origin is back at world center. We need that, or else when we go back to DAS and import it, the cast would move somewhere else. How do we do that? Select the cast, go to object. First, snap cursor to world origin. Next, set origin to the 3D cursor. That's it. It's in the world origin. Okay? Yep, the origin of the cast is in the world origin. Yeah, a mouthful. Next, we're going to export it as an OBJ. Same thing. We're going to put it back into our folder. It's good to know where you're putting stuff. So let's see. Live stream cast. Okay, now don't hit export yet. There are a few things that you need to click. First of all, back in Blender, should be scaled at 100%. The object selected only. Anything else, just normal, just like what you see here. Okay? Then we export it. It should take a second. Most likely it's done. So let's go back to DAS. And on DAS, we have the character, right? A Genesis 8.1 female. Don't worry, it will work on Genesis 8 female. Now, let's see. Before you import, do remember, if you want your cast to support a Genesis 8 female, choose a Genesis 8 female. Because if you put it on a Genesis 8 female and it works on her, it should work on an 8.1. But if you put the cast on an 8.1 female, it will not fit back onto an 8. So, let's get rid of this 8.1 actually. We're going to use an 8. Yeah, I bought this skin so that I can safely stream on YouTube. Yeah, because the normal one, it's completely naked, and if the YouTube algorithm finds out, I'm pretty sure they're gonna shut down my stream or shut down everything that I have, which I don't really want. Wow, and the stream is pushing 40 minutes. If you watched the whole thing, I am so sorry. It shouldn't take that long. It should take a little less time than that. Anyway, if you want to import it this time, okay, Genesis 8 character. You import a Genesis 8 character, go to File, Import. And then, don't worry about these. These are the ones, or the things that I did for the Debian page. Go back to the folder where you left the OBJ. Click on the OBJ. Well, the scale should be set as default. Accept. And there, you have the cast. Ta-da! But it looks absolutely horrible because it's completely white. If we go to iRay mode, you would see it's completely white. Now you might say, oh, it looks like a cast, a plaster cast. No, because it has no texture. There are no bumps and nothing on it. There's nothing on it. Oh, that looks horrible. Don't worry, we're gonna fix that. So, click on your cast, go to Services. Inside the Surfaces, you will see the 3 different surface that we have assigned. The cast one, the cast teal, and the padding. Right? These 3. Let me go find some texture for it. I forgot to put the texture into the stream folder. Dun, 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 dun. Nothing to worry about. It's coming very soon. Yeah, working behind the scene. My, how should I say it? My workspace, it's very messy. I don't want you to see all the messy stuff that I have. I am going to choose. Yeah, I'm trying to find the textures that I have. Okay, let's get a few. Yeah, I'm trying to decide which one. I'm actually looking at my maps right now. Fiber bump map, fiber normal map, and I want a fiber slick. Okay, sorry about that. Give me 1 second. I will get all the materials in as quickly as I could. And we have the padding, padding, padding. Okay, so let's start. On the padding part, the base color, we will go look for the material. So most of the time you will have 3 different maps. There are more, there are way more for more advanced option. Again, we'll start with just the color. For me, it's usually called the base or color. Now you would see that the padding shows up. Remember when I talked about the direction where your padding should be facing? Yeah, it's kind of woven, so if you just randomly place it on, it wouldn't look straight. It wouldn't look straight. It would look really weird. Same thing with the bottom part of the cast. Right? See how they all lined up? Yeah, that's what you want it to be when you're UV unwrapping. Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. Next, we choose a bump map. A bump map basically tells the computer how high something might look. It's not adding any polygons to it. And let's have a bump strength of 5. And with that, you would see it's a little more 3-dimensional when you look at it, but still not really that powerful. So usually I would add a normal map to it too. Just the normal map. So you'd see that it's kind of like bumpy, a little more bumpy. Now, but most of the time we're going to view it from afar anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Now, next, it looks more like a sweater than the stock net right here. So down here, with the horizontal tiles and the vertical tiles, we increase that. So let's shrink it down by 3. So we tile everything by 3. Now it looks much more like an actual stock nets. 5 seems better, right? If we do a close-up, we'll see it, but if we move a little further out, not really, but you would see that it's a little rough. The light doesn't bounce off it that well. Now, talking about lights, yeah, we need to also change the glossiness a bit. We want it to be a little rough. And reflectivity, anything reflects light. Anything in the world reflects light. So I'm just going to lower it and not just eliminate it. Some people like to eliminate it. Now, with a lot of the texture that I have, I usually do it in a gray scale tone because I want to change the color of it. If I have to, a lot of the stock nets that we use back here is a little off-white, so I add a yellow tint to it. So you see a slight yellow tint. Now you get the padding part. Now let's quickly do the cast part. Same thing, we'll add the color of the fiber. Next, add the bump. Finally, we add the normal. Increase the bump a little more. It's really rough, so let's take 8. So you see it's kind of rough, and you can actually kind of get a feeling of the cast. And finally, we have the heel part. Now, I'm not going to mess with the tiling here because, yeah, it looks kind of normal. But if I'm really picky, I might go with 0.5 actually. I want it to be a little rougher. Yeah, it looks a little better. Okay, let's do the heel part, and we're almost done. We're almost done. Almost. Now, because everything in the cast should be in the heel as well, so let's do the lazy option. We'll copy everything from the cast and then paste it in the heel. There. Now you see it doesn't match, right? That's why I said it's a little better if on the heel part we can actually modify the scale of it. So let's do 0.1. Oop, too big. 0.3. Almost. 0.2. Yeah, close. 0.2, 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. 0.3 might look a little bit better. Yeah, so they're kind of normal, and the heel part stretches just like how the fiber will be. Fiber will be when it's wrapped, and you get your cast. Now, again, same thing, because the color of the cast can be chosen. That's why usually when I do the base color, it's in a gray tone. So if I want it to be a blue cast, or well, it's just my favorite color, purple cast. You can see that it's purple. And you see the white spots, that's the glossy part. So if we kind of change the gloss color of the cast to something lighter purple, bluish purple, then all those dots will be less pronounced. And because the cast is really reflective right now and no roughness, again, let's make it a little rougher. Lower the reflectivity a little bit. Good. And let's remember it. I forgot 0.3. Okay. We'll copy it back down to the heel. Change this back to 0.3. Yeah, because it'll copy the tiles as well. And voila. That is the cast that we have on a lovely lady. Right here. Now, however, if we kind of move the character, say we move the leg, oh, the cast came off. So what do? Two ways. One way, parent it to the leg. Second way, make it into a clothing-like thing. So we can go up to Edit, Object, Transfer Utility. Basically, we're telling the computer to add the bones into the cast, just like we have the Genesis 8 female. We click from the Genesis 8 all the way to the cast, and we hit accept. Wait for the computer to calculate and do its thing. It's doing it. Still waiting. Still waiting. Okay. And there, it's not only is it parented, it will actually shift around the character if it kind of goes out of bounds. Okay. Another good thing about using transfer utility is if for your character, let's say you want it to shape into maybe another girl. Let's have some different bodies. Let's say we want it to be for Madison, okay? If we change the body, the cast follows. You see it? It follows. It automatically fits to any of the characters that you already own, making life a lot easier, a whole lot easier. And there you go. That's the cast. One more thing. Yeah, and one more thing, kind of just like the Apple seminar thing. You see that the cast, because we are not modeling it in too many of the faces, you can see that there is like faces here. It doesn't really reflect the light really well, so if you shine the sun, it would be like blocky, really weird. You can actually fix that here by going to Edit, Object, Geometry, Convert to Sub D. I'm pretty sure you already know that. You divide it so that you make the squares even smaller. Again, be very careful when you're using this. It can kill your machine because it adds more squares, more blocks to it. You can actually change it to maybe 3. See the difference? No more blockiness. It's really smooth. Right? Basically, it's just dividing whatever squares that you have, making your square, your little polygons a little smaller. And so it makes it seem that the cast is a lot smoother. But again, resource killer alert. Do it at your own risk. Well, that's it. I hope you learned something today, and I know the stream quality isn't that good this time. I'll try to do better next time. So I guess I will see you again when I stream again next time. Okay? So, see you next time.